The Canes don't have a GM.
Still waiting.
We said last week, which was a week after they broke the news that Don Waddell was moving on. We said last week that if they didn't have a GM by this Friday, our alarms would start going off. Our sounders would start going off. Today is Thursday. I'm getting impatient. I know we said Friday, but I really want to smash that alarm button right now.
You took the lid off the switch.
It's the hand is hovering and it's twitching. It's like, I might push it. It was really big news when Don Waddell left. It was really big. If it is a big deal when the spot is vacated, the next person to fill it is big news, right? So everybody that's now downplaying the GM, it's like, I hope you downplayed when Waddell announced he was resigning. Because you can't at the same time go, oh, Waddell's leaving? Why? Oh, he did this. He was so instrumental in building all of this. And then turn around and go, actually, GM doesn't matter. It's cool they don't have one. If it is a big deal when the spot is vacated, then the next person to fill it will be a big deal. There'll be big news. And the time it spends vacant is big news. And over the last 2 weeks, because what are we, 13 days in without a GM? 13 days.
I think we're on day 14.
It was a Friday, so it's that. Do you count today?
Sorry, we are
is
day
tomorrow?
13. We are day 13. That's right.
You know how it is. Like, is it 3 days from now or 2 days from now? Do you count today? It has slowly, over the last 13 or 14 days, slowly become less and less and less of a big deal as we have gotten bored with it. And here's the thing. Can you technically operate without a permanent GM? Yes. If your interim GM is doing his job, and Eric Tulsky, who was the assistant GM, was named the interim GM, if he is truly fulfilling all GM-ly duties, then you can go a while without a permanent GM. But then my question is simple. Why? Why wait that long? Why? The offseason, in a lot of ways, is the GM season. The draft is not that far away. And when I say that, it's close.
It's the end of this month.
Actually, we're in June now, so you're right. Yeah. Like, it is close, and there are things that need to be done prior to the draft. You can't show up 2 days before the draft and just have everyone go, all right, we'll fill you in. Like, you need to form your own opinions. You need to gauge the room. You need to hear the arguments. What is taking so long to find a GM? And what do you think is going to change? Right? You make a choice, you make an offer. If they turn it down, you go to your next choice, you make an offer. If they turn it down, you make a next choice. I guess you could be gauging whether you want to up your offer, but I doubt that's going to happen considering what we know about this franchise, what we know about this ownership. We are looking at 2 weeks of not having a general manager, or more specifically, not having a permanent general manager, and instead having an interim general manager. In a sport where it does matter who your GM is. It does. Even if it's just as the mouthpiece of the organization, right? The megaphone of the organization. Because, right, everything that we've heard, everything that we are hearing about the way the Canes want to operate is the GM is not a traditional, like, end-all, be-all, judge and jury GM, where they hear all of the arguments from the assistant GMs and the scouts and the coaches and maybe the ownership, and then the GM gets to make a decision. That's not what they're doing here, right? It's we've been kind of calling it like King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table, right? It's everybody's equal and every voice matters. Well, guess what? At those press conferences where you're explaining the decisions, you didn't send up 12 guys. You didn't send up 4 people. You sent up Don Waddell. That's part of what needs to be fixed. The person that is going to, for better or worse, wear it for the team. Mm-hmm. Like, you are the figurehead, even if behind the scenes you're not as powerful as other GMs are. You are the figurehead for the organization, and there is value in having that.
And Dom was the one that would initiate conversations with other teams, and even though it might have been his final decision, still, he was one that was the face. Other GMs knew to call him first. He was one that spoke to the media. Like you said, he was the face of the front office.
And it's a bit of a gatekeeper, right? Because Don Waddell was extremely well connected in hockey. We've talked about it. He's goes back decades and decades and has interacted with so many of the other front office executives. Sure, he may not have had final decision-making power, right? Big decision. Are you going to trade for someone at the trade deadline? He might not have the final, like, double stamp to triple stamp, yes, make the deal. Go get so-and-so. But how many casual conversations do you think he had where he just never passed that info along? The NHL Combine, right, this week. How many times do you think someone came up to him and said, so, what are you thinking about moving your first-round pick? And he just went, I don't think we're going to. Or even he said, I don't know, what are you offering? And, like, there's nothing that guarantees he's going to bring all of, like, everything he hears back to the Knights of the Round Table. He may have been a little bit of a gatekeeper in that respect. We'll never know, and he's never going to tell us. But there is a value in having a GM. And I'm cool with being patient. We're past patient. 2 weeks, too long. Like I said, tomorrow is when the panic button gets sounded or the alarm gets sounded if we're going to do that. So today is almost like, I feel like this is when you're I have a 3-year-old toddler at home. This is when you're counting to 3. You're like, come on. Sit down, eat your food. Sit down. 1, 2, right? It's like that's where we're at right now with the Canes. We're like, come on. All right, it's cool. Ha, ha, ha. No, seriously, sit down, hire a GM. Come on. Sit down, hire a GM. 1, 2, 2.5. Don't make me get to 3.
2 3/4.
I'm gonna have to take away your Hot Wheels. I'm gonna take away the red car. Like that's where we're at with the Canes right now. We're not in like you're actually in trouble mode, but we know the time when it expires that you'll be in trouble mode.
You think they're just waiting until after the Combine?
Why would you?
Just let the front office do all their stuff first, then we'll announce it after the Combine press conference next week, on Monday.
Maybe, and I will say this organization does seem like let's wait. Like I think the Rod Brind'amour deal was agreed upon mostly months, if not weeks, if not months in advance.
Yeah,
and it was just kind of like wait till the off season. I don't know why you would, but they did. So like I don't see why you would wait. Why wouldn't you want your new GM to be walking around the Combine and having those conversations and making sure everybody knows? We talked yesterday about the blueprint. The Panthers, meaning Carolina Panthers, produced behind-the-scenes documentary of their offseason. The Senior Bowl was going on when they hired Dan Morgan and Dave Canales, and they went right there. Right? They didn't even, family was still in Tampa. Like they went straight there talking at the Senior Bowl. They were mic'd up talking to other coaches about like, Thursday we got to be back in Carolina for our introductory press conference. Meanwhile, they were there talking to players for the Panthers. They were there watching practice for the Panthers. I don't know why you wouldn't want your GM. You hire him today at, what time is it, 3:10? I'd try to get him at the Combine by like 4:30. Like how far away are you? Can you drive? Are you already there? Get him there. Get him knocking out all the intros he needs to knock out. Because other teams have to know this is the guy we call, which is what it all comes down to. And then the next thing you want him to do is to decide, are you going to re-sign Gensel? Are you going to trade Natchez? Or what are you doing in goal? Like then there's a lot of things to get to. The to-do list is not a short one for whoever they hire.